To get on while I'm waiting for everyone to tune in on Facebook. Hi, Instagram. Join me. Let me just type in my phone number and pin it while I'm waiting. Good morning. Say hi. Let me know where you're calling in from or you're tuning in from. If this is your first time, definitely let me know. As you guys know, I can't talk and type at the same time. So give me a second to type this number. Yeah, my Facebook and YouTube is still acting up. WhatsApp number. Four. Hi from South Carolina. Is that North Carolina? How are you? Olukasin, good morning. Good morning, first timer, Angeline. Good morning and welcome. All right, guys, sorry, I'm almost done with this number. All right, let me pin it. So, pin. Okay, so I've pinned it. Good morning, Annie on Facebook. Finally, Facebook decides to work. And good morning, YouTube. How's everyone doing? Today is a great sunny day. I'm feeling grateful and glad today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration lawyer. I represent clients all over the US and internationally, those who are trying to basically immigrate to the United States, whether it's a family based immigration, fiance based, humanitarian based like VAWA, T visas, U visas, consular processing. We'll be happy to assist you. Our phone number here is 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp, 404-333-8751. All right, so I'm hi from New York. Oh, Hemen. Good morning, Courtney. Sharon, first timer. Good morning. Good morning from Florida. Shauna, first time here. Hey, welcome. Okay, so today I want to talk. I see all these. Am I frozen? Yeah. So I want to, I'm gonna answer your questions. So feel free to ask me questions, and I'm gonna get to them once I finish. Very quick. Topic, but today I really want to talk about, the cohabitation requirements, for VAWA. I'm going to get into what VAWA means and what cohabitation means and all of that stuff. We've been getting a lot of consults from people who maybe have RFEs, or RFEs is a request for additional evidence, or notice of intent to deny, which is also known as a NOID, where they're basically saying that we don't have any proof that you guys, live together. For most of you, if this is not your first time here, or who have been in a VAWA process, or know someone who has been in a VAWA process, you understand that, cohabitation is a requirement, unlike, say, marriage. In a regular marriage case, they want you to cohabitate, but it's not a requirement. Meaning, if you can explain logically why you don't cohabitate, it should be fine. Carrie Godchild, it's not only VAWA cases I take. I do take a lot of VAWA cases, but we do other immigration cases. I don't know if you just tuned in, but you can replay this and you hear what we take. And it's also listed on all of our social media handles and our website as well. So let's quickly talk about what VAWA is, first of all. Again, VAWA is a law that basically allows victims of abuse by either parents, spouses, or children to get a 10-year green card. From an eligibility standpoint, the people that would qualify is if you're a spouse of a U.S. citizen or a green card holder and you've experienced extreme cruelty or abuse, you can be eligible for a 10-year green card through VAWA. If you're a child under the age of 21 and and you've experienced abuse from a U.S. citizen or a green card holder parent, you can file VAWA. If you're a stepchild, your parents have to have been married, or your step-parent and your parent have to have been married before you turn the age of 18. There is a window between the ages of 21 up until 24, like right before you turn 25, where if you didn't file while you were under 21, you can do a late filing. While it's not ideal, because you're not going to be able to get a work permit until later on, a much longer time, it is still also an option if you find yourself in that situation and you were never able to file. And then the last group of people are parents who have US citizen children who are over the age of 21. So it can be a green card holder child. It has to be a US citizen child who is over the age of 21 and you've experienced extreme cruelty or abuse from that child. So these are the categories of people that can get a 10-year green card. So specifically, I want to talk about obviously marriage because we get mostly marriage, and that's what most people have a question about. So typically, in order for you to meet the requirements for a prima facie determination letter or for an approval of VAWA, you have to show that you and that spouse lived together. That's essentially what cohabitation means. And when they say live together, it could mean that you lived together prior to your marriage. So you don't have to have lived together after the marriage. It could be before the marriage. So if you lived together before the marriage, but you never got to live together after the marriage, you can still prove cohabitation. If you live together after marriage, obviously you can prove cohabitation. At the time of filing for VAWA, you do not have to be living together. It's okay if you live together and you then separate, because who wants to stay in the same household as an abuser? But we just have to have the cohabitation component. Now, one question people say to me or ask me is, we live together, but we didn't live together for a long time. So from a rule and policy standpoint, there is no 100% rule on this is the timeline you have to have lived together. I will tell you, we've gotten the full gamut. Like we've gotten people that have a really short cohabitation, or their cohabitation was prior to marriage, and then people that have lived together for a long time and they're still living together when we submit the application. And all of those people have been successful. But what the key thing of success in proving cohabitation is proof of that cohabitation. Oh my gosh, just hold on one second. Let me just decline. I know this is going to mess up my live because somebody just called my phone. So I don't know if you guys can still see me on Instagram. How annoying when people call you when you're in live. Like, it is 10 o'clock in the morning. Who's calling my cell phone? Can you guys still hear me on Instagram? If you can hear me, let me know, because I know that probably messed up my live. Let me know in the comment if you can hear me on Instagram. Push the white circle with the plus sign, and then the three dots. You can copy the live link there. Okay, I think she's talking to somebody else. Okay, you guys can still hear me. Okay, good. And of course, I've completely lost my train of thoughts. So before the phone call disconnected me, I was talking about what all these people have in common when it comes to cohabitation. Whether it's a short time before marriage, post-marriage, still living together, is proof of cohabitation. You have to prove cohabitation. I do understand that sometimes you are at the mercy of your abuser and your name might not be, let's say, on a lease or a deed, but you have to find a way to prove that you guys live together. Of course, some of the things that you can do is, the easier ones are, of course, getting your lease, getting your deed that has your name or that has you as a co-occupant, of that. But if you don't have that, and maybe, you have a relationship with the office management or the leasing office, or it was a sublet, or you lived with a family member, and they're willing to write a letter basically confirming that they did live here. Or if you have a neighbor that knows you, that can write a letter confirming that they know you lived there, you can also do that. And then, of course, if you have bills that are in your name or mails that come, not like, I would say that marketing mails don't really hold probative value. Like when I say marketing mails, like, you get like a Crate and Barrel coupon, or like, all those coupons, a Walmart coupon or whatever it is. Like, those ones are not going to hold as much weight as, mails that come, like, if you're shipping stuff from like Amazon or a website or like clothes and stuff like that, those mails are really good. One of the things also that's helpful is if you don't have this, and this is just something to have whether you're in immigration or not, is what we call USPS informed delivery. USPS informed delivery is basically where you get an email with your mails that you're going to receive that day and your address, so that if anything is missing in that mail, then you know that something is missing. So like, in the morning of the day of them that they're going to deliver, you might get you might get an email saying, these are all the mails coming there. So if you're someone that maybe you don't keep the mails, or if you're someone who's in an abusive relationship and you've got an abuser that is locking up the mailbox, at least you can see that USPS informed delivery with your name and those are addresses. So that's a way that you can extract, all your mails to show as proof. Oh yeah, so someone says they have USPS informed delivery. It's a fantastic service that USPS offers, so it's definitely something that you should do. And then of course, affidavits are always good. If you have friends and family that know you guys live together and can write affidavits. Sometimes, we will go through text messages as well, because sometimes there's certain key terms that you can read in a text message that tells you that the couple lives together. And if we find that in the text message, those are some things that we'll use as well. I remember like we've had I'm going to use an example. We've had a case where they didn't live together for a long time at all, maybe like 2 months. But, in that time, the person did not allow them to have any kind of meal, like anything basically. But what won that case, or at least the cohabitation portion, was us. There was a text message from the spouse saying, come get your bleeping Xbox, or I'm going to toss it in the garbage, right? And so it's a simple sentence, right? But it's clear that if his Xbox was there because he was living there with that person. I mean, that's not all you're going to use, but it's a substantial part to start our own argument of cohabitation, and showing how that works. So really, those are some things. I mean, obviously, there are just too many to think of. Somebody asked mail from the bank. Of course, mail from the bank is good. If your IRS address, when you file for taxes, and your taxes should join address, that's good as well. If you have, or you work and you're getting like paychecks or pay stubs or W-2s that show the address, that's also good to show cohabitation. So those are some of the things. Sometimes, it's really hard. And then, when the person really, really doesn't have anything, but swears on their mama, that they've lived together, then we have to go into our own legal analysis to talk about the psychology of an abuser and a victim, and how, they can mastermind and orchestrate certain things to make sure that that person stays under their dominion and all of that stuff. But that's when we're really, really struggling to find more stuff that we can use, and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about, cohabitation, guys. This is the number one thing that I see disqualifying people from being eligible. Because they don't have cohabitation. They don't understand what they're asking for when they're talking about cohabitation. But hopefully this video helps you to understand what the living requirement is. Caddy says, good morning. What are some questions they asked at the VAWA-based green card interview? Please speak about this. Thanks. Caddy, I feel like I answered this question on the last live, and I think it was you who asked the question. Again, when you have a VAWA-based interview, they are going over your I-485. They're going over your form, basically. So everything they wrote on that form, they're looking at it. Things that you want to pay specific attention to is your address history. Where have you lived in the last 5 years? The thing you want to know when you got married, when you got divorced, how many marriages you had, how many divorces you had. You want to present authentic divorces when you come there if you're divorced, or if this is not your first marriage, because they ask you those things. They ask you things about like, your spouse, your marriage date or your divorce date, so it's really important that you try and know those information, and then of course they go into the normal inadmissibility questions like, have you ever claimed to be a U.S. citizen? Have you ever, been part of the military? Again, remember, these are not things that disqualify you. Like, being part of the military doesn't disqualify you. I'm just telling you the correct questions that they ask you. They can ask you about weapons training. They could ask you about kidnapping, prostitution. Basically, go read the I-485 form and what you submitted in there, and make sure that, your answers match what you submitted in there, and that you have evidence to support what you wrote in there. But as long as you have that, it really should be a straightforward interview. Okay. Okay. Already Evans says, can you explain the relationship between debts and the risk of being seen as a possible public charge to the country, and how that might affect one's immigration case? This is a good question. So really, the whole idea behind when you file for immigration and you're asked to come with a joint and just a quick side note, I'm not talking about VAWA now, because with VAWA they don't care about that. This is about like a typical marriage case where you need to file a financial affidavit of support. The whole reason for a financial affidavit of support is that they want to make sure that them giving you a green card holder does not become a burden to the U.S., and that you have somebody who can financially support you if you get basically below poverty guideline, which is why that financial sponsor, whether that's the petitioner or a joint sponsor, needs to be making an income above the poverty guidelines. So normally, so now, recently, I say recently because it started in December, when you're submitting your I-485 form, they ask you questions about that. They ask you questions about what your asset is, because that helps them to determine, is this person someone that has a high propensity to seek governmental assistance and funds, like public benefits, that they should not be seeking. And once they assess that, and so using an example, I don't know, I don't want to call arbitrary number and someone like, oh, that's what I do. But like, let's say, for instance, you have like you say that your family income is like $20,000, for example. Like, maybe you guys made $20,000, and then you have a joint sponsor, because $20,000 will not meet the income requirement. And then when they ask you about liabilities as far as your debt, right, maybe your debt is like $40,000 to $50,000, in terms of credit cards, car notes, or whatever the case may be. I'm not even necessarily including like things like mortgage and stuff like that. That would raise a red flag to US CIS as far as, could this person be a potential public charge? It doesn't mean that they will deny you, but with a case like with something like this example, they will definitely want an explanation for them to make a decision. So that's what it is. So it's not that they're necessarily judging people based on what their incomes are, which is what the previous one was basically doing, was like a wealth test. It's just making sure that you don't have a high likelihood of going into the public benefits realm. And that's why, for those of you here who have had an immigration interview, that's why you would observe that one of the things they ask you for is where you're employed. Are you working? What are your plans for work? Like, especially, if you're doing a marriage-based case, they always ask that. They always ask that because they want to make sure that you're working, that you have a way to support yourself. Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness, guys. I'm not going to be able to get to all these questions, but let me just see what I can. What does it mean if I got an RFE, a request for additional evidence, for my spouse to submit their tax documents in February, and I submitted it, but I got another RFE this month asking for the same tax documents, 1099 W-2 again? Temi, without me seeing what your RFE is, I can't tell you what it means. It could be that it wasn't satisfactory. They received it and they've determined that maybe he doesn't meet the income requirements, and you might need a joint sponsor, but it's too speculative without reading the actual language and seeing what you submitted. I can't really say what they need from you. Okay. you receive your work. This person is talking to someone else. How many months does it take USCIS to correct mistakes on EAD cards? A long time. This is one of the most annoying things, like when EADs are sent and there's a mistake with the birth dates or the name or the middle name. Sometimes it's USCIS's fault. Sometimes, one of the things, like we always say to clients when we finish preparing like their files, first of all, I believe in transparency, and all my clients get a copy of what we're filing. I always want clients to read their application before we submit it and say, good to go. Here's the reason why. These are our clients, and I'm speaking here from a lawyer standpoint, not from an individual making their mistake. From a lawyer standpoint, if you hire me, I don't know you personally. I don't know your full name personally. I don't know your date of birth personally. A lot of times, if clients fill out something and they don't realize the error when we literally copy paste the date of birth that they gave us, we want them to review that again to make sure it's correct, because only them can tell us, this is correct or this is not correct or whatever it is. I mean, sometimes, we'll tend to catch it, if let's say they came in here, like, they have a passport and one has a date, but sometimes we have times where there are different names, like on passports versus the visa. And it's like, well, I use this name well, which name are we using? What is the legal name? So, and then for you as a, someone that's applying, let's say you apply by yourself, you want to make sure that you're reviewing and rereading your application, because we're human and we make errors. You can fat finger type something else, like, you might type 0214 instead of like 1402. I'm just using a random number, like, depending on what country you're from, you might type your dates the other way around, which that's where we see a lot of the errors, where someone would type, June 2nd as 0206, and USCIS will interpret it as February 6th instead of June 2nd, because, dates are switched around depending on what country you're from. And then once that happens and you send it, it could take anywhere from like 3 months to like 6 months to get that mistake corrected. So that's what we've seen in the practice. Sweet line, I guess you're talking to somebody. I'm not sure if is COVID vaccine still required for a green card application? At this time, yes. I know I saw someone ask that, do you know if they're going to stop requiring that? Hopefully, I'm not opposed to COVID vaccine, but I also understand that not everybody wants the vaccine. So if COVID is no longer a crisis, I definitely think that it's fair to remove it as a requirement, for people. But again, this is what I say to people: look, there's no need to go bury yourself where you don't need to bury yourself. Like if you need the COVID vaccine and it's not because you're going to die, or you've never taken a vaccination in your entire life, get your vaccine and go get your green card. And like, don't give yourself unnecessary stress if you don't have to. But, to each their own, Okay, let's see. I think I can take 2 more. Hello. Just wanted to know if there's a delay in Florida with conditional removal, or is it that all cases in Florida have been delayed due to COVID? Please, do you know of anything? So this is not specific to Florida. Basically, immigration just takes a long time. COVID caused some of it. We're seeing more of movement. We're seeing more of movement and hope that it continues with certain changes that they made last year, like how they extended work permits from 1 year to 2 year work permits with the interview bypasses. We're actually seeing that people that applied after they implemented the interview bypass, we're seeing quicker decisions than people that applied before, which is annoying, but it's what it is. So there definitely is a delay in general, but one of the things you want to do to make sure, or to see where you fall, is you want to go and check on USCIS for the processing time, and just type in your own receipt date to just check if you're still on the window, or if the time has passed. If the time has passed, then you can reach out to them. Okay, let me answer this question. Last question. My attorney didn't notify me of both interview and denial notices until I got my children's denial stating that mine was denied. I'm about to reapply for all of us. Please advise. I guess I'm sorry to hear that your attorney didn't advise you on that. That's sad. I'm not really sure when you say please advise, what you want me to do. If you want to hire us, you can call us and schedule a consultation with us, and then we'll determine your eligibility and if you're still eligible, and then we can help you with the process. Okay. All right, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. I enjoyed chatting with you all this morning, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye.